What would you do if your neighbor turned your private paradise into their personal playground? For years, I'd wake to the gentle lapping of Lake Serenity against the shore, the soft rustle of willows, and the sight of herons gliding over the water. My little lakefront home in Willow Creek was my sanctuary, a place where I could escape the chaos of the world. I'd sip coffee on my porch, watching the sunrise paint the water gold, and feel like I'd carved out a slice of peace. That is, until Karen moved in next door. Karen Whitaker arrived like a storm cloud on a summer day. Her sleek SUV rolled into the driveway of the neighboring property, a modern monstrosity of glass and steel that dwarfed my cozy cabin. From the moment she stepped out, her designer sunglasses glinting and her voice carrying across the yard, I knew trouble was brewing. She wasn't just a new neighbor, she was a force, one who saw boundaries as suggestions and my lakefront yard as her personal extension. Started small. Karen would wave cheerfully as she strolled through my yard to the lake, her flip-flops slapping against the grass I'd spent years tending. "Oh, this view is just divine," she'd call, as if I'd invited her to share it. I'd grit my teeth, reminding myself to be neighborly. After all, I'd grown up in Willow Creek, where folks shared and cared. My late wife, Eliza, used to say, "Kindness costs nothing, Lucas." So I let it slide. But Karen didn't stop at strolls. One morning, I woke to the sound of hammering. I stepped onto my porch, coffee in hand, and froze. There, where my rosebushes once stood, was a wooden gate freshly built, leading from Karen's property straight into my yard. A path of stepping stones, still dusted with sawdust, snaked toward my dock. My blood boiled. She hadn't asked, hadn't even mentioned it. I marched over to her glass palace, where she was lounging on her deck with a mimosa. "Karen," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "What's with the gate?" She smiled, all teeth and no warmth. "Oh, Lucas, isn't it fabulous? I thought it'd be so much easier to share the lake access. You don't mind, do you? It's such a big yard for one person." I minded a lot. That yard was where Eliza and I had danced under the stars, where we'd planned our future, where I'd scattered her ashes after cancer took her. It wasn't just land, it was memory, sacred and mine. But Karen didn't see that. To her, it was just a view to claim. I tried talking to her. I explained the property lines, showed her the deed, even offered to let her use the dock if she asked first. She'd nod, promise to respect my space, then ignore me. Her friends started showing up loud, entitled types who'd picnic on my lawn, leave beer cans by the water, and blast music that drowned out the herons. I'd had enough. That's when I met Javier. He was the twist I didn't see coming. A landscaper who'd moved to Willow Creek to escape the city. Javier was quiet, with kind eyes and a knack for turning chaos into beauty. I hired him to fix the mess Karen's gate had made, but he became more than a worker. Over coffee one morning, as we surveyed the damage, he shared his own story, how he'd lost his brother to a hit and run and found solace in building things that lasted. "You gotta protect what matters, Lucas," he said, his voice soft but firm. Not with anger, but with something stronger. His words stuck with me. I didn't just want Karen out of my yurty, wanted to take back what was mine. So I made a plan. Not a gate, not a fence, but a statement. A brick wall. Tall, solid, unyielding. I'd build it right along the property line, high enough to block Karen's view of the lake entirely. Let her glass palace stare at mortar instead of water. Javier and his crew worked fast. The wall went up in days, each brick laid with precision. I'd watch from my porch, a grim satisfaction growing as the structure rose. Karen noticed too. She stormed over, her face red, her voice shrill. "Lucas, what is this? You're ruining my view. This is outrageous." "It's my property," I said calmly. "You built a gate. I built a wall. Fair's fair." She sputtered, threatened to sue, but I checked with a lawyer friend, Tom, who confirmed the wall was legal. Karen's gate, though? That was trespassing. I could have had it torn down, but I let it stay. Let her walk through it and face the wall. Let her feel the weight of her own choices. The neighborhood buzzed. Some called me petty. Others cheered. Mrs. Delaney, the retired librarian across the street, brought me homemade cookies and whispered, "About time someone stood up to her." But Karen didn't back down. She started hosting louder parties, as if noise could breach the wall. She filed complaints with the town, claiming the wall was an eyesore. The council dismissed her Willow Creek valued property rights over aesthetics. Then came the twist I hadn't expected. One evening, as the sun dipped low, I found a letter slipped under my door. It was from Karen's daughter, Sophie, a shy teenager I'd barely noticed. Her handwriting was neat, her words raw. She apologized for her mother's behavior, explaining that Karen was grieving. Her husband Sophie's dad had died in a boating accident 2 years ago, on a lake just like Serenity. Karen's obsession with my yard wasn't just entitlement. It was a desperate attempt to reclaim something she'd lost. Sophie begged me to talk to her mom, to find a way to coexist. My heart sank. I thought of Eliza, of how grief had nearly broken me. I'd built my wall out of anger, but maybe Karen's gate came from pain. I considered tearing it down, inviting her to share the lake properly. I even walked to her door, ready to talk. But then I saw her through the window, laughing with her friends, planning another party on my dock. The moment passed. Grief didn't excuse everything. Javier, though, had other ideas. One morning, he showed up with a plan. "Let's make the wall beautiful," he said. He proposed a mural, vines, herons, and waves painted across the bricks, a tribute to the lake we both loved. I hesitated. A beautiful wall was still a wall, still a barrier. But Javier's eyes held that same quiet strength, and I trusted him. The mural transformed the wall. Neighbors stopped to admire it, kids posed for photos, and even Karen's complaints grew quieter. But the lake was mine again. No more uninvited guests, no more trash. I'd won, hadn't I? Then came the night that changed everything. A storm rolled in, fierce and unrelenting. Lightning cracked, and rain battered the lake. I was safe in my cabin, but I heard screams from next door. I ran outside, flashlight in hand, and found Sophie trapped under a fallen tree near the gate, her leg pinned. Karen was there, sobbing, trying to lift the branch. For all her bravado, she was helpless. I called Javier, and we worked together to free Sophie. The ambulance arrived, and she was okay, just a sprained ankle. Karen clung to her daughter, tears mixing with rain. She looked at me, not with anger, but with something broken. "Thank you," she whispered. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my porch, staring at the wall, its mural glowing faintly under the moon. I'd built it to protect my peace, but it hadn't stopped the storm. It hadn't stopped Sophie's screams. I thought of Eliza, of how she'd have opened the gate, not closed it. I thought of Javier's words, "Protect what matters," with something stronger than anger. The next morning I called Javier. "Tear it down," I said. "The wall. All of it." He didn't argue. By noon, the bricks were gone. The gate stood open, and the lake sparkled under a clear sky. Karen came out, her eyes red. She didn't say anything, just nodded. Sophie, on crutches, waved shyly. I'd won my yard back, but at what cost? The lake was still there, beautiful as ever, but it felt emptier without the wall and without Eliza's kindness guiding me. I'd built a barrier to keep Karen out, but maybe I'd locked myself in. The view was clear again, for both of us, but the peace I'd fought for was gone. Yendi.